Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Her Power Podcast, a space created to empower, educate, and elevate young women in every role and season of life. My name is Sydney Ward, and I am Miss Fall Fest Volunteer 2026, and I am also the founder of the Rise and Reclaim Project, which is an initiative I started that is dedicated to helping women recognize their worth, their confidence, and understand the power that they already carry within. For every episode, we're going to be sitting down with a variety of different title holders, athletes, change makers, and leaders in our community to have some real conversations about what confidence, empowerment, and self worth looks like in each of their unique roles. Because here we believe that when women rise, they don't just grow, but they reclaim who they were always meant to be. So let's get into today's episode. Younna has dedicated a decade to student affairs, specializing in housing and residence life. She serves as the Senior Associate Director for Housing and Residence Life at the University of Memphis. Younna completed her undergraduate studies at the University of Mississippi, known better as Ole Miss, and her Master of Science in Education at California State University, Fullerton. A committed advocate for her profession, Younna contributes on a regional level as a member of CEHO's Advocacy and Community Excellence Committee. On a national level, serves as a faculty member for Akuho's Star College. Younna's career spans multiple regions across the U.S., providing her with a wealth of experiences as she channels into mentoring and guiding others in areas she is passionate about. Her professional interests include effective communication, student engagement, residential curriculum, and fostering staff well-being. Please welcome today's guest, Younna Gooden.
Hello. I'm happy to be here.
Okay. And for everybody listening, I always like to kind of explain how I know the guest and how we're connected. So, for those of you who may not know, I am currently getting my master's at the University of Memphis, and I'm currently a graduate assistant for leadership development in the Housing and Residence Life Department. So, in a way, Younna is pretty much kind of my boss.
Just a little, just a
Yes.
little.
Okay, so for the people who might not know anything about you, just introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about your journey into higher education and kind of what initially drew you to working in student affairs and leadership development.
Yes. Well, as you said already, my name is Younna Gooden. I am, let's see, I have been working in housing and residence life since I was a resident advisor. I actually started out in RHA, so in what you actually oversee as a graduate student, I was the National Communications Coordinator. And then I became an RA. So actually, I started with RHA, then became an RA. Um, that's kind of where my passion for housing and residence life kind of started. Is like soon as I actually kind of started college, is getting involved, and I decided to get involved with housing. And so it's been a fun long journey, for sure. Prior to starting school and like what I still kind of do like for fun and everything. So just like you asked a little bit about myself, but outside of work, I am a very I would say a homebody. That's what I like to be called personally. I am a very big on sort of like being to myself, reading. I do a lot of poetry writing. I play with, family, friends, all of those things. But a lot of the things I kind of do is a lot of self-reflection. A big part of my role and a big part of the things I enjoy is mentorship, which is why I actually kind of stay doing what I do. Is I enjoy working with people. I enjoy working with others and mentoring others. When I first started out, I thought I was going to be a nurse. And then my career just pivoted. I applied for nursing school over and over again, eventually got in, but decided that I wanted to just wanted to actually go into higher education. I found so much enjoyment working with students, helping them navigate the college experience, navigate college life. As a first generation college student, I had to learn it for myself, and so being able to do that for others is an enjoyment for me for sure.
I love that.
Of course.
So, for those people who may not know much about higher education, tell us a little bit about what your day to day looks like in your role.
So for my role specifically in higher ed, I oversee sort of like the housing and residence life branch for higher ed or student affairs, if you will. And so my day to day it never looks the same. Monday looks different from Tuesday, and this Monday will look different from next Mondays. What I tell people, I sit in meetings for the majority of my day. I make important decisions. I agree to things. I disagree with things. Some of my decisions I make are can be difficult because they affect the student population in some type of way, or my staff in some type of way. And so my day to day can look like I'll come in the first thing in the morning, I check my emails. Then I most likely will go to a meeting. Then after that meeting, I will most likely go to another meeting. And then after that meeting, I will probably have time to actually sit down and possibly chat with the students, chat with an employee, or work on a task. For example, I'm over our move-in process here at the university, and so right now I'm working on the communications and building those procedures for that, so I can share that out with the university as a whole, so they can be prepared for what move-in looks like. And so that happens, but as you know, prior to our call, I got called into an emergency situation, and so that happens too. I have sometimes my calendar is set and I'm like, all right, I have these meetings, I know what I can expect. And the next thing I know, I'm called into a meeting or a situation where a student might be in crisis or in need of support. And so I'll stop what I'm doing and be able to go assist them. And so it's interesting days.
Yes, for anyone who's never worked in higher education and specifically housing and residence life, it is different for sure every day. There's always something that'll surprise you.
Definitely, definitely. Every time I used to tell people nothing, I've done it so long that nothing can surprise me, but that is not true. Students definitely reinvent the wheel every day. I'm surprised every day.
Yes. So, we're going to transition a little bit to talking about some confidence and self worth questions. So, how would you personally define confidence for yourself, especially for young women who might be navigating their college years or their early career?
I would say that can depending on who you are, that can be a challenge. I would say for me, building my confidence, gaining self-esteem, what that looked like for me was a challenge just because of how I was raised in my upbringing and everything. And so for me, it was a lot of making sure that one, I know my self-worth and being able to speak to what that looks like. And then two, just knowing what I can bring to the table and offer others. And so when I show up and am able to do that and people recognize, my abilities and what I'm able to do so and give me recognition or praise me for that, that of course helps boost my confidence and self-esteem, of course. But I think in order to be able to do that, you have to kind of put some of those doubts aside, because if you're always doubting yourself and you are thinking like, oh, I can't do this, or they're going to dislike this project that I worked really hard on that I like, but maybe it's not to their standards. Instead of thinking that way, what I do is say, well, they hired me for a reason. They know I'm capable of doing the job and they want me to do it the way I see fit, which is why I'm in the job. That's why they hired me. They liked what I was bringing to the table, my insights. And so just remembering that I know what I'm talking about, and they know I know what I'm talking about. I just need to go and present that to them in that space. And it can be difficult. It takes time. I will say it took me a long time to get to the level of confidence I am at now. That takes failing, that takes mistakes, that takes encouragement. And so a lot of what I did was talking to mentors and learning, like, am I doing this right? Should I be doing anything differently? I ask for a lot of feedback so I know I'm on the right track and the right path. That way, if I can be doing something differently or improve upon, I will do that. So that helps my confidence level, knowing where I am, and where I need to be or where I can get to. I think what also helps is just knowing what you bring to the table. So if you know that you're really good at communication, being able to speak to that. Are you good verbally? Are you good written? Or what do you mean by you're good with communication, and being able to show that when you show up in your work environment? And then I think also a big piece to confidence, I think it's also being able to hush those doubters as well as your self-doubt. And so what I like to do is contradict those negative thoughts with a positive thought. So, oh man, I dropped the ball today. I could have done that better. And now I'm being really hard on myself because, I made a mistake and now I'm like, oh man, I've lost confidence in my ability to make decisions, whatever that may be. Instead of thinking that way, what I like to think is, okay, I dropped the ball. What about that ball could I have done differently to make sure it doesn't drop again? And so, okay, this is a learning opportunity. I have now learned from this. I know what I need to do better. And so now I'm taking that so I can grow to be successful. So instead of harping and lowering my own self esteem, I instead try to turn that mistake into, okay, learn from this, don't do this or do this differently. Got it. I can move forward and be successful now. And so I think it is a lot of you have to do a lot of internal things with yourself in order to gain that self confidence, but also making sure you have the people around you, what I like to call your village of support around you, whether that's your friends, your family, your people, your mentors, your colleagues, whatever that looks like to you, your chosen family, having those people to go to and talk to them like, hey, am I crazy? Is this right? Do you feel the same way? No, you're amazing. You're a wonderful person. Why are you thinking that about yourself? That way you can have that support as well, because sometimes you need that.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that advice. I've always heard of like the compliment sandwich thing. So I like that for doing that for yourself too and kind of shifting it to be more of a positive thing. So, how would you say, or for you, what does self worth look like for you both in your professional title and outside of that? How do you separate kind of who you are professionally versus who you are personally?
I think for me it's a little difficult actually to make that separation sometimes. I will say that I try to show up as my full self at work as well as when I'm not at work. So that's why it's kind of difficult for me to make that distinction between self-worth, how I see my self-worth at work and how I see my self-worth outside of work. But I will say the way I measure that, I guess, is off of my successes or what I've done. So for example, at work, the way I measure my self-worth is who have I helped today? Who have I provided support to today? Have I completed the task or completed the expectation that my supervisor or my supervisees had for me or asked of me? And if so, then I've checked that box. I've done what I wanted to do. I've completed my goal today. And so have I successfully met my goals is how I measure my self-worth at work. And so sometimes I realize I'm off track of my goals. And so how do I refocus to get back on track so I can make sure that I'm aligned with what I would like to do and what I hope I'm gaining from this role. Um, and so on and so forth. But I would say outside of work, the way I think I measure my self worth is how do I show up for my family and how do I show up for myself outside of work? Am I being supportive of them? Am I being caring of them? Am I helping them out when they need that support and help? Um, and so like for me, my self worth outside of work has to do with a lot with how I see myself with my family and those who I care for or care about. And so for me outside of work is more so I see myself as the caretaker outside of work. That is my role. That is my where I find I guess my self-worth is I am that person in my family that they can call on if they need help, whether that's financial help, whether that is advice, whether that is, hey Yana, can you stop what you're doing to listen to me vent really quickly, or I have a situation at work that I need some help navigating. So that's how I kind of navigate that outside of work. And then another piece to that as well, I am really big on development. I like to develop others and myself. And the way I do that is I go out and seek opportunities for that fulfillment for myself. And so, for example, I take on mentees. I will go and join professional organizations, go present at conferences and so on and so forth in order to fill my cup so I know that I'm being the full professional and the full person that I want to be because that's what I like. That's my passion. That's what I want to do. And so for me, that's how I kind of measure my self-worth is am I meeting my goals that I set for myself? And if not, how do I refocus to so I can get there?
Hmm. Yeah, I actually really like that perspective because a lot of people talk about separating your identity from work and home, but it is good to mention also that sometimes it's okay to not have a full separation because ultimately what you're doing in your career should be a reflection of who you are. So I like that
Exactly.
take.
Exactly.
So you work with students very closely, especially during some of the most transformative years of their lives. So what do you think empowerment looks like to you and then also in the housing and residence life space?
I would say so empowerment to me looks like uplifting and encouraging others, whether they are having a successful, great experience or a great day, or whether they're having the worst day of their lives. Um, I see myself as a person to come in. I just want to, again, one of the reasons I stay, come in to uplift and support others through this. One of the most transformative times in their careers or in their lives. They could be navigating issues at home. They could be navigating relationship issues. They could be navigating identity issues. Who am I? Am I the same person I was last year as a senior in high school? And surprisingly, most people are not. And so what does that look like and how do I navigate that? And so I think I would say that for me, working with those students during those years and like empowering, helping them push through what that looks like. It is a lot of conversations. It's a lot of check-in meetings with them. It's a lot of, okay, um, did you go to class today? No. Why not? Why didn't you go to class? Oh, I wasn't feeling up to it. Why weren't you feeling up to it? What's going on? Oh, I needed some extra sleep. Oh, did you go to bed late? Oh, you're out partying. Okay, cool. It's fine. It's fine. Have a wonderful college life, but don't forget about classes and everything. And so it's reminding them and it is fun. It's okay to have fun. I'm not saying go to every single class that you have in your college career. I am saying have a nice balance between the fun and the academic side of the house. I truly believe college is a great experience and a fun experience, long as you're able to find the people and the places to make it that for you. And so I think for me, when I talk to a student, it's always encouraging them, it's always learning their story, learning their why. Why did you choose this university? Why did you choose that major? What do you hope to gain from this? Or what are you're struggling with this? I know this person that can help you actually navigate that struggle, get over this hump. Let me connect you with that person. And so to me, it's reminding them of their why once they tell me why they wants to do this. And then again, encouraging them. I tell people all the time, even my employees, if this is not your end goal, tell me what your end goal is. Where do you want to be? Okay, so you want to be a doctor. This is housing. I can't. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know some people who are doctors. I know some things. We can help you with some transformative skills. We can help you with that communication. We can help you write really great emails. We can also help you navigate some conflicts. But drawing blood, I can't help you with that. But I know someone in the health center, and they could possibly have some internships, and I can connect you with them. And so for me, it's recognizing that and helping get that student to the right person so they're able to get that fulfillment, that goal, to that career path they want. So for me, that's what empowering students, empowering others looks like, is finding out their why and what they want to do and pushing them and encouraging them in that direction.
Hmm, I like that. I think we need more people out there doing that for our students. So, kind of piggybacking off of that, how important do you think it is for young women to have and see other leaders and mentors that look like them and have very similar experiences to them?
I would say it's extremely important. Extremely important. Just speaking from my personal experience, I am a senior associate director for housing and residence life. I am a Black woman in this position as well. And I will tell you that I did not meet a Black woman in a director level until 4 years, if not 5 years, into my full-time profession. Up until then, I only knew people in leadership as either white men or white women, mainly white men. And so for me, I just sort of like, do we not get up there? Do we not make it to that role? Like, what is the barrier? Do we have to get a PhD? Like, what is that? Well, what is the barrier? Why am I not seeing Black women in leadership in these roles? Because that's the path I'm hoping to take. but I don't see anyone like me. So what's going on? And when I did, it was just sort of like, oh my gosh, wow. You're what I like to call this is a unicorn. I've never seen this before. This is my personal unicorn. Can I go talk to you and learn from you and all these things? And I did. I actually did approach both of those women that I saw. Both of them are women in higher education, Black women in higher education, directors, executive directors, and so on and so forth. And I was like, hey, I am still kind of new to the role, still kind of new to the profession. And you're honestly the first Black woman I have seen in this profession. Can I learn from you? And thankfully, they both said yes. And so it was for me. It was when I saw that. I didn't realize how much I wanted that and needed that until I actually saw it. And then when I saw it, I was like, I actually need to capitalize on this so I can continue to be better and grow and actually figure out how to navigate this because y'all are the only two I've ever seen. How are you being successful in this role that seems to be dominated by men? And everything. And so being able to learn from them and gain those experiences is really invaluable to me. And it's helped me actually get to where I am, learning from them. And so I think it's extremely important for people to have women in leadership, people that have that look like them in places of power and places of important places where you can make decisions. That way they know that one, they can also do that. And two, that there's someone up there that possibly has went through a similar experience that is also advocating for me because they have a similar experience. They're able to be like, actually, we shouldn't do that because that's going to hinder this person or this group. If you see that person in that room, you're probably thinking they might speak up for me in this space because they come from a similar background. And so I think it's extremely important, um, just for everyone's success, just so that everyone knows that they can reach that level and that it's attainable, and so we can learn from each other. I think it's extremely important to be learning from each other.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it is crucial to have a diverse background of people in leadership and role models. And I always say I'm a coach for young girls who do twirling, and you can see their mindset like completely shift when they see a girl winning a title that looks like them or has the same body shape as them. It just
Yes,
changes
yes.
their complete mindset and makes them realize, oh, I am capable of doing that because she did it. And so I think
It makes you want to try harder sometimes. Like, oh wait, let me not. Let me get back focused. I can actually succeed here. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
So, kind of talking about that as a woman in a higher leadership role, what are some challenges that you have faced or you think women in similar roles have faced and don't often talk about in their position?
Um, I would say for me, some of the challenges I have faced. So, not only am a woman, I'm a young professional still. I'm still kind of seeing as young for the position I'm in, and so I have to navigate that as well, being seen as you're too young to make that decision. You don't know what you're talking about. Even though technically my resume and experience definitely tells you I do know what I'm talking about and I do have the experience, and everything, it's still interesting that they don't think that because I either look young to them or am young to them. It's like my experience goes out the window. And so it's interesting being able to navigate that. And I will say it is a challenge, but the way I normally the way I kind of combat that generally is I generally just tell them like it is. Like I understand your perspective. I'm telling you this, and this is why this we need to do it this way, or why I'm advocating for this thing. And generally, once I do that, they're like, "Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense." I'm like, I'm pretty sure I know it makes sense, but you doubted me because you didn't think I know, and so on and so forth. And so I know that's a challenge, that I face on the day to day. I will say, I think other women in similar roles, they probably face similar things like that, like ageism. I would say, I think all women in most roles probably will at some point in time experience sexism. Whether it's because the pay rate is different, like your male peers being paid more than you, which happens and still happens to this day, ladies. So make sure you pay attention to that. Um, Or is it that they're listening to the males in the room, even though you're in the same room as them, but they're taking their ideal over yours, even though your idea was probably either the same or you said it first or it's better, but they took the man's idea for some reason. And so that's a challenge that we continue to navigate and face. And again, my biggest the what I do is I hold firm. I will not be quiet. I will say what I need to be said. Y'all can take it or y'all can leave it, but I'm still going to speak my truth into this space. That way, I said what I know I needed to say, and I'm protecting my people that I care about and my team. But if y'all want to go with that decision, go with that decision, and so on and so forth. But I did what I needed to do in this space. And I think long as you don't let them quiet your voice and continue to speak up, that's all you really need to do. It will continue to be hard because sometimes it's just like they're still not listening. No matter how much I speak up, they're just not listening. And at that point, it's like, do I stay or do I leave type of thing. But I always tell people, keep speaking up. As women, we have to keep fighting that fight. Keep speaking up. We don't want them to quiet our voices. We don't want to be the only woman in the room, which happens. That is a challenge. Sometimes I'm in spaces, I am the only woman in that space. And it's kind of awkward sometimes. But that doesn't, again, I will still raise my hand and say, blah, blah, and then, sometimes I'll get head nods, sometimes I'll get weird looks, but I'm still speaking up because I was invited to this space for a reason. Somebody thought my insight was important, so I'm going to give it. And so I will say, continue to fight the good fight, speak into the spaces that they don't want you to speak into, and so on and so forth. But I would say those are some challenges that we continue to navigate to this day.
Yeah. I really like that for everybody listening. Please listen to that part. Please advocate for yourself. Always keep speaking up for the people whose voices may be quieter in a room. If you have a platform and a voice, please use it.
Yes.
So, kind of shifting a little bit more into the leadership development, how do you help the students or how do you interact with them and help them move from maybe a stage of self doubt and help them realize that they can step confidently into a leadership role or help them realize that?
Um, So for students generally, if they're coming to me and they're talking to me about, they want to do this thing, but they're doubting themselves or scared to take that step, I generally ask, tell me about why do you want to do that? Why do you want to go and pursue that degree or pursue that role or take that path? And all right, I get their why behind that. Then I normally ask them, well, why are you scared? Why are you scared to take that step? What's stopping you from taking that step? And because some people do have actual barriers in place, and some people it's just sort of more so emotional. They're just not ready. And so if it's the emotional piece, I try to, as much as possible, give them as encouraging, if at words of affirmations, encouragement as possible to let them know that you actually do are ready to make that step. And so, especially if I'm supervising them and I know them well enough, like if I can speak to your skills, I'm going to say, well, why don't you think you can do that? Well, let me tell you about you actually did this program really successful, and this is what you did. You put the flyer together. You talked to your residents. You started the event from start to finish. You hosted the event. You spoke during the event. You coordinated with campus partners to get them to come over to also give things to your residents. And so you're hoping to be, you told me you're thinking about this internship with event planning, but you don't think you have experience, but you just walked me through an event you just planned. So why don't you see the connection there? Well, that was just a small event. What's wrong with it being small? That's still experience. You can still speak to that. You can still explain to them in an interview how you could have made that bigger or what idea you have in your head to make it a bigger thing if that's what you want to do. So helping them realize that actually you have the skills or tools, you just might not see it the same way, or you might just be being too hard on yourself actually, and you don't see it. And so that's some of the ways I help with them in that I would say their self-doubt about their future, their path, and so on and so forth. Um, and then I would say if they are worried about like maybe they're struggling like with mental health things. I get that quite often. And they're just not sure what to do. Like life is falling apart, everything's terrible, and they don't know what to do, other than do nothing. I generally ask them and talk to them and get to know them and just try to figure out, okay, what's going on? Why do you feel like the world's falling? Is it academics only? Is it family and academics? Is it family, friends, and academics? What's all on your plate that's making you feel so overwhelmed? And let me help you break it into many or smaller pieces, or help you delegate some of these things out, or maybe advise you to step down from a position. Maybe you're overly involved and you might need to take one or two positions off your plate. But it's sort of trying to figure out what they're feeling and how can I help them possibly break that down. And if it's not me, again, who can I get them in front of to be able to get that support that they need and encouragement that they need, so they are being successful and are out of this mental health crisis and so on and so forth. And so that's kind of how I go about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that, especially in student affairs and at least in our job and things that we see kind of on the daily, you're meeting students in completely different stages of life, and some of them are going through some of the toughest things, and you're really just meeting
Hmm.
people in very unique situations. And so getting to know them and understanding exactly what they may need or that push that will make the difference for them is really important. How do you navigate being a leader that is both authoritative and strong while still being approachable in a way?
Yeah, I would say it can be a challenge. I know when I first started in my career, I came off way too strong, way too strong. I was way too strict, and not approachable enough. Then once I got the feedback, I was like, okay, let me change my style. Became too approachable and not enough strict. Now now that I've worked through that enough, I think personally I have a good balance of the both of both, being able to be authoritative but also supportive of my team, approachable for my team, and approachable to the residents. And so, the way I normally go about that is from the start of a position. When I start a position, I generally come in as a learner. Like, yes, they hired me because I know how to do the job. They want me to be successful at the job. They have all these matrices and tasks I need to do. Yes, that is true. But I am not the department, I'm not the company, and so on and so forth. There's multiple people here. We all work together. And so, what I generally like to do is to get to know people, get to know who I'm working with. And so, what does that look like? Yes, it's learning my job and expectations, but it's also going to someone's office and just chatting to them about what's your day to day, how's life, what does life outside of work for you look like, and everything. Just getting to know them as people as well as colleagues. And so that's one way I do that is I personally try to put myself in a place knowing that what my role is, that people automatically already see my role as an authoritative role, as an intimidating role. I try my best to also let people know, hey, you can approach me and this is how you can approach me. I will come by and let you know who I am, what I'm about, so on and so forth. And I hope you will do the same. My door is always open unless I'm in a meeting. And even when it's closed, I will still look up and people will try to come in and I'll just tell them to come in. I do have an open door policy, which is, I will say, for people who, as you are moving up, it's difficult to navigate an open door policy because people use the open door policy and you have a lot on your plate. But with that being said, it makes you more approachable to your team. It helps them know that, oh, I have this issue. Younna's in the office. If I walk down to her office and ask her, she's going to give me an answer and be okay with it, and I can go about my day, and we can keep flowing. And so I think one is getting to learn who you're working with, and getting to know who they are, from there, and then also with the authority piece, I think the authority piece comes with the role. I don't I don't necessarily come in and say you have to follow me. You have to do what I do. You have to do what I say because I'm your supervisor. I should you think that way? Maybe. I don't necessarily think that way because I know that's not the reality. People respect you and give you that respect when you show up for them and when you respect them. And so that is a growing process and a learning process, and you have to get to know that person. And so they're only going to show that authority and respect for the authority when you build that rapport and so on and so forth with them. And so that's why I start with getting to know people, letting them know who I am, how I lead, how I supervise, and how approachable I am. And so I that's why I do that, because my title already has the authority behind it. I don't feel like I need to push my weight or authority around. Because of the title, if I ask someone to do something, generally 98% of the time, it's done. Or they're like, okay, sounds good. Yeah, no, that sounds reasonable. And I'm never really asking them to do something that is not outside their job task anyway. And so I think that's kind of how I navigate it. Is I like to get to know the people first. And then unless there's some weird misunderstanding, again, authority comes with the role. And so you just have to get them to respect you. And then once you get them to respect you, that authority kind of comes along with it.
How has your definition of success or successful leadership changed throughout your career and professional journey?
I would say over time, I have become kind of, like I said earlier, less strict. I have learned that people are all that, everyone, not just students, because I only originally was thinking from the student perspective. Not just students, all staff are all at different developmental levels, all different stages of life, and so on and so forth. And so for me, it was learning, I would say, sort of like learning by challenge. So learning, like, okay, my staff doesn't like this. Okay, why don't you like that? Okay, cool, noted. That way I don't do that again. Or I understand why you don't like that, but this is why I had to make that decision. So I do a little bit of both. Like if it's a have to, then I explain the why. If it's something I can change and make better for them, I genuinely like to do. I like to tell people I supervise from a place of care, because I generally will go in with that mindset that you didn't intend to do anything wrong. You are intending to do everything right. You're intending to do your job right. And maybe we made a mistake today, and how can we move forward from there? And so for me, like, I think the way it has changed, it has been not being as hard on myself as well as others. It's Our jobs are not black and white, it's a lot of gray. And so it has been understanding the gray, and that is not black and white. That's how it has changed over time for me. I will say, when I first started out, I was very like by the book, very black and white. Oh, you messed up, okay, bye. Now I'm learning that it's a lot of reasons why they messed up, and I need to consider that, and consider, do I make a different decision versus bye? Is it okay, understood, let's move forward and let's correct that action? Or, okay, cool, understood, it was an emergency, got it. It could be a bunch of different things. And so I think that's what has helped change over time, is understanding the gray and what comes with that. So.
So, what impact do you hope that your work leaves on the University of Memphis community and its students that you interact with?
Mhm. I always tell people, I always want to leave a good impact. And what does that mean? So to me, the impact I hope to leave at the University of Memphis is one of care and support. So I'm very big on wanting to make sure that all residents, all faculty, all staff is being supported in the way that they need to be supported, and cared for in the way they need to be cared for. People forget that staff care is a thing, that you need to also care about your staff. You can't just continue to throw tasks at them and expect them to continue to show up 100% of the time. You have to care about them and everything. And so I think I hope to, because of my role, I hope to leave an impact of um, housing in residence life is a place that you can be your full self, make mistakes, but find a place of support and care from. I hope to leave the program in a better space than I found it. I always want to leave things in a higher or better space than when I started. And so that's generally the main impact I hope to leave. If I can improve one student's life, I think I've done my job. Do I want to do every student? 100%. 100%. But if it's one student, then I think I've done my job successfully. If I'm able to improve our programming, which is something I'm actually working on right now, to improve the residential experience, that I'll be happy as well. That is one of the impacts I'm hoping to leave as well, is that when people go to our programs and leave, they're like, that was the one of the best programs we've ever went to. And I hope they do that again next year. And so I'm hoping to leave those type of experiences here.
Yeah, I like that. I always say with my Rise and Reclaim stuff that I do with this organization, it's not super big, but I like to say that as long as there's somebody that leaves a workshop or an initiative that we do feeling better about themselves or feeling more capable, then we've done our job. So, all right, so we're going to kind of close out. I have two last questions.
Okay.
So, the first one is if you could speak directly to every young woman right now who might be hesitant to step into a leadership role or she might be doubting herself and her capabilities, what would you tell her or want her to know?
I would tell her that go for it. They will. Do not tell you, don't tell yourself no. You let them tell you no. So submit the applications. Even if you don't think you're fully qualified, if you're 80% qualified, 60% qualified, submit the application. Let them tell you you're not qualified and then go from there. You'll be surprised how qualified you probably are. A lot of women, because of how society has function, we don't sometimes think we can are capable or that we can do the things. Sometimes we're self-demeaning to ourselves when we really shouldn't be. I honestly, I think us women do a lot of the behind the scenes work, a lot of the hard work for the men to be able to take the credit for. So instead of them taking the credit, go get the credit yourselves. That's what I would say. I fully think that don't a lot of the reasons people don't take the chances is self-doubt. And try your hardest. Remember that you do have the skills and the capabilities of doing it. And if you don't, they'll train you. So that the job can be done the way they want to be done. So don't tell yourself no. Let someone else tell you no. And if they tell you no, your follow-up is question to their no is like, okay, so what do I need to do so it can be a yes? That way you know exactly what you need to do so you can get that yes, especially if that's the position or area you want to be in. I would say that remember women are strong. All of us would not be here without some type of woman. So remember, we are strong individuals by birth. So don't forget that. And build your village. And don't forget the women. Don't forget the women. Build your village. So make sure you have people you can call on to be like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Do you think this is crazy, or do you think I can do this? That way, if you are feeling self-doubt, if you are feeling like you can't, they can tell you, oh no, you can, and this is how you can do it. I know you can do those things. So I think my message for everyone who is possibly doubting their capabilities, one, don't doubt yourself, because that can hinder your brain activity. Don't doubt yourself. And remember what you have done, your capabilities, and what is transferable. Just because you haven't, let's see, for a doctor, for example, just because maybe you haven't drawn blood doesn't mean you don't know how to talk a patient through the process. You probably know how to have a good conversation and know how to explain A to Z to them. That's good. That's a start. Use that and continue from there. So don't self doubt. Keep going and push. Y'all got it. Trust me. Trust me. We need more women in leadership. Way more women in leadership. We are missing a lot of care and understanding in the higher the higher areas up here, and I do think more women would help that for sure.
Yeah, I love that advice. I think that's great. One of my pageant directors always told me like the worst somebody can tell you is no. So you might as well go out and do everything you can. The worst somebody just says is no. So
Exactly, exactly.
And so for my final question, my platform Rise and Reclaim has been built on three very pivotal words, which is educate, elevate, and empower. So
Hmm.
which one of those three resonates most with you in your season of life and why?
Mm. I was going to say educate, but when you said season of life, I immediately changed because currently in my current season, I am focusing on elevating. And the reason why, so in my current role, the reason I stay in housing and residence life, I enjoy the helping others. I enjoy the being able to grow and develop students. I enjoy that mentorship. It is a true passion of mine. But as you move up, you get less student interaction, you get less mentorship opportunities. And so for me, because of that, I purposely go seek those opportunities. And so for me, what right now, the way I see myself elevating myself in that my season is I'm trying to be more um I am trying to be more active in my professional career. So, as you stated earlier, in my bio, being the chair for the Advocacy and Community Excellence Committee and being faculty for Stars College, those are new things for me. I was like, I wasn't sure I wanted to do that. I doubted myself, but I threw my hat in, and as you see, ladies, it was a yes. So, I wasn't sure if I could, but I was ready to pour all my knowledge that I have into others. Like I've been doing this for over a decade. I have a wealth of knowledge in housing and residence life. Most of my job, I learned how to do it myself. No one taught me how to supervise. No one taught me how to be a good professional. No one taught me how to, have a meeting to terminate someone. No one taught me those things. I had to teach myself all of those things. And so because of that and knowing that there's a gap in our profession, I'm currently trying to give back by doing webinars, by doing sitting in spaces where I can talk to women, where I can talk to people that are interested in housing and residence life, interested in student affairs, and explain the job, explain the nuances, explain the good days, the bad days, what you need to be prepared for, and how to do the job, and how to navigate, and how to show up as your full person, even in a corporate environment. What does that look like, and how to be authentic to you? And so for me, that's not a job requirement. That's not something that anyone's asked me to do. I decided I wanted to do that for my personal fulfillment and my personal development. And so that's why I chose Elevate.
I love that. We haven't had anybody pick Elevate yet. So I'm happy we had our first. All right. Well, Younna, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing a little bit about your journey and your perspective with us. I really think your insight on leadership, empowerment, and pouring into others is really inspiring, and there's a lot that people can take away from this conversation. So we're grateful for the impact that you're making on our students, not just on campus, but in their personal lives. So it's been an honor having you. Thank you for being on Her Power today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me today. It's been a great chatting with you, being able to give insight into my experience and offer advice. And I do hope something I said today does resonate with your audience and they're able to learn something and take something away from it.
To all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Her Power podcast. I hope that today's conversation reminded you that confidence, leadership, and self-worth are not just traits, but they are intentionally built over time. A huge thank you to Younna for coming on and sharing a little bit about her journey and her perspective as a higher education professional who is committed to supporting all of our students. And until next time, remember that your voice matters, your story matters, and the impact you make, whether small, big, or throughout your community, it truly matters, and your power is already within you. See you next time on Her Power.